George Moretti divorced his wife for being barren. Few weeks later, she walked into his engagement party, pushing his twin sons. The invitation arrived on embossed cardstock. George Moretti, Manhattan's most ruthless mafia boss, standing in his penthouse office, laughing into his phone about his ex-wife, the woman he divorced 3 years ago for being barren. Maybe Stella will show up, he told his inner circle, since she's got nothing else going on these days. His associates smirked. The engagement gala was in 5 days. Then she walked through those gilded ballroom doors. Crimson dress, diamond earrings catching the light, face carved from ice, and pushing a double stroller with 2 sleeping infants inside, both with George's unmistakable dark eyes and sharp jawline. I was standing by the champagne tower when the room fractured into silence. I watched George's face go from smug to gray in 3 seconds flat. And I knew right then, this wasn't just a scandal. This was a detonation. So tell me, were those twins his legacy or his destruction? Because in the world of the Moretti crime family, bloodline is everything. And Stella just walked in holding proof that the lie was never hers. Let me tell you how we got here. Because nobody, and I mean nobody, expected Stella Moretti to come back. George Moretti isn't just another East Coast mobster in Italian leather. He's the man federal prosecutors build entire careers trying to take down. The guy who owns shipping routes, construction contracts, and half the judges in 3 states. His organization moves everything from art to arms, and he doesn't apologize for any of it. Powerful, brutal, bulletproof. And 3 years ago, he had a wife, Stella. Striking in that way that made the other mafia wives nervous, not trying too hard, just effortlessly magnetic. She wasn't born into the life. She was a corporate attorney who met George during a hostile takeover negotiation. They married within 6 months. Too fast, everyone whispered. But George wanted her. And what George Moretti wants, he takes. Welcome to Roses and Revolvers, where every story leaves a scar. If stories like this keep you on the edge of your seat, hit subscribe and comment where you are watching from, because the next one might be even darker. For 2 years, they lived like underworld royalty. Penthouse views of Central Park. Front row seats at the opera. Stella in couture at every family function, George's hand possessive on her waist. But then the whispers started. No pregnancy. No heir. In a world where your legacy is measured in sons, that was a death sentence. George's mother made her opinions loud. His consigliera started floating the word replacement. And the family doctor on George's payroll naturally delivered the verdict. Stella was the problem. Infertile. Defective. Useless to the Moretti bloodline. George didn't just divorce her. He humiliated her. He threw the medical reports at her feet during a family dinner. Called her broken in front of his captains. Had her escorted out of their home in the rain while his relatives watched from the windows. She vanished after that. No lawyers. No fight. Just gone. And George? He moved on. Upgraded, he called it. Found himself a socialite half his age with the right pedigree and breeding hips his mother approved of. Planned an engagement gala that would cement his reputation as a man who gets what he wants. He even thought it would be funny to invite Stella. A final twist of the knife. What George didn't know, what nobody knew, was that 6 weeks after she left, Stella discovered she was pregnant. With twins. And the real medical records she'd obtained from an outside specialist? They told a very different story about who was actually defective. For 3 years, Stella built a new life in silence. Raised her boys alone. Let George believe his own lies. Let him throw his victory party. But when that invitation arrived with his handwritten note, "Hope you're keeping busy, sweetheart," something shifted. She looked at her 2 sleeping sons. At their father's eyes staring back at her. And she realized, these boys deserve to know the truth. And George deserved to face it. So she RSVP'd yes. She bought the dress. The red one. The color of power and blood and reckoning. And on the night of George Moretti's engagement gala, surrounded by every crime boss and corrupt official on the eastern seaboard, Stella walked back into his world. Not as the broken, humiliated ex-wife, but as a mother with nothing left to lose and everything to prove. The medical file hit the marble floor with a slap that echoed through the dining room. "Barren," George said, like the word tasted good in his mouth. 3 years, Stella. 3 years of my time wasted on defective goods. His mother didn't even look up from her wine. His consigliera smirked. 12 family members sat frozen around the table, watching Stella's humiliation like it was dinner theater. She reached for the papers. George's shoe pinned them down. "Leave them. You're not taking anything that belongs to this family." His voice dropped to that cold register that made grown men flinch. Including the Moretti name. The divorce papers were already drawn. His lawyers had been working for weeks, she just hadn't known it. Postnuptial agreement she'd signed in good faith? Voided due to failure to fulfill marital obligations. The penthouse? His. The car? His. Her grandmother's ring she'd brought into the marriage? Family heirloom now, his attorney declared. They gave her 30 minutes to pack. It was raining when they escorted her out. Not the romantic kind, the cold November kind that soaked through your coat and made your bones ache. George stood in the doorway, his new girlfriend already beside him. Younger. Fertile, his mother had confirmed. "Good luck out there," he called after her. "You're gonna need it." The iron gate closed. Stella stood on the sidewalk, suitcase in hand, mascara running, and felt something crack open inside her chest. Not her heart breaking. Something sharper. 6 weeks later, she'd miss her period. And everything George believed about her would turn out to be a lie. Stella chose Portland because nobody knew her there. No Moretti connections. No whispers. Just rain and coffee shops and blessed anonymity. The nausea started 3 weeks after she arrived. She ignored it. Stress, she told herself. Trauma. Your body shutting down after 3 years of psychological warfare. But it didn't stop. The clinic was small, forgettable. The kind of place that didn't ask questions. The nurse did the blood draw with practiced efficiency, and Stella sat in the paper gown trying not to think about George's face when he'd called her broken. "Congratulations," the doctor said 15 minutes later. "You're about 8 weeks along." The room tilted. That's impossible. I was tested. Multiple times. I can't. You're not just pregnant, Ms. Moretti. The doctor adjusted her glasses, studying the ultrasound screen. You're having twins. Stella's hands went numb. The doctor kept talking. Something about hormone levels, about how unusual it was for such clear early detection, about scheduling follow-ups. But Stella's brain had snagged on one savage truth. George's family doctor had lied. Not misdiagnosed. Lied. She spent that night in a motel bathroom, crying and Googling fertility fraud. Found a lawyer who specialized in medical malpractice. Paid him with the last of her savings to pull her real medical records from the hospital George's doctor had lost. The report came back 3 days later. Her test results? Perfect. Completely normal fertility markers. George's results, the ones from his annual physical that his doctor had buried? Oligospermia. Low sperm count. Motility issues that made natural conception highly unlikely but not impossible. The great George Moretti, obsessed with legacy and bloodline, was the reason they'd struggled. And he destroyed her rather than admit it. Stella sat in that cramped studio apartment, hands on her still flat stomach, and made a decision. She would disappear. Completely. Raise these children far from George's toxic empire. Let him marry his socialite. Let him live his lie. But 18 months later, after the twins were born, 2 perfect boys with George's dark eyes and sharp Moretti jawline, something shifted. She was changing a diaper when the news alert popped up on her phone. Asterisk, Mafia boss George Moretti announces engagement to socialite heir Vanessa Cross. Gala planned for December. Asterisk. There was a photo. George in a tuxedo, smirking at the camera like he owned the world. And beneath it, a quote, asterisk, finally found a woman who can give me what I need. Real family. Real legacy. Asterisk. Stella's hands stopped moving. One of the twins, Marcus, grabbed her finger. His grip was strong, determined. Just like his father's. She looked at her sons. At the life she'd built in hiding. At the lie George was still selling. And then her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Just an image. A cream-colored envelope with her name written in George's distinctive handwriting. And below it, a message, asterisk, your invitation is waiting at the front desk. He wants you to see what a real family looks like. Anonymous, asterisk. Stella's pulse hammered in her ears. She could ignore it. Should ignore it. But as she stared at her boys, asterisk his asterisk boys, one truth crystallized. These children deserved better than a father who was a coward and a liar. And George Moretti was about to learn what happened when you underestimated the woman you threw away. George found her address through a private investigator. Cost him 15 grand, but it was worth it for the punchline. He held the cream envelope up to the light in his office, admiring his own handwriting. Stella Moretti, no, she'd dropped his name. Stella Bennett now. How cute. How forgettable. You really gonna invite your ex-wife to your engagement party? His consigliera raised an eyebrow. That's cold even for you, boss. George grinned. She needs to see what she missed out on. What happens when you're actually useful? He sealed the envelope. Besides, I'm feeling generous. Let her watch me win. Inside, he tucked a handwritten note on his personal stationery, asterisk, hope you're keeping busy, sweetheart. Come celebrate what a real partnership looks like. Gee, asterisk. He imagined her opening it in whatever sad apartment she'd crawled into. Pictured her crying over the life she'd lost. The thought made him reach for the scotch. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday. Stella was feeding the twins, Marco in the high chair smashing bananas, Luca trying to grab the spoon, when she saw the envelope sitting on her building's mail table. That handwriting stopped her cold. She didn't open it until after the boys were asleep. Sat at her kitchen table with shaking hands and pulled out the card. Mr. George Moretti requests the honor of your presence at his engagement celebration. If you made it this far, you're not just watching, you're part of this story now. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. And that note. That goddamn note. Real partnership. Like, she'd been the fake one. The failure. The problem. Stella's jaw locked. She walked to the twins' nursery. Watched them sleep, two perfect mirror images, both with George's distinctive features. His eyes. His stubborn chin. DNA that would hold up in any court on earth. For 2 years, she'd told herself she was protecting them by staying hidden. That distance was safety. But what was she really protecting them from? The truth? These boys would grow up someday. They'd ask about their father. And what would she say? That she'd been too scared to face him? That she'd let him write the story? Marco stirred in his crib, tiny fist curling. Stella pulled out her phone. Found the contact for Dr. Sarah Chin, the independent physician who'd run her real fertility tests. The woman who'd quietly provided Stella with copies of everything, including the records George's doctor had buried. I need an affidavit, Stella said when the doctor answered. Medical testimony. Everything you found. I need it legally certified and ready in 1 week. Are you sure? Dr. Chen's voice was careful. Going up against a man like George Moretti. I'm sure. She hung up. Opened her laptop. Searched for Best Custody Lawyers Manhattan. Then she did something she hadn't done in 2 years. She Googled George. The engagement announcement was everywhere. Photos of him with Vanessa Cross, 26, blonde, daughter of a real estate mogul. The articles all quoted the same line, asterisk, Moretti finally ready to start the family he's always wanted. Asterisk. Stella's hands curled into fists. She clicked through to Vanessa's Instagram. Society photos. Charity galas. And then, 3 posts down, a picture that made Stella's blood freeze. Vanessa in a hospital gown, glowing, caption reading, asterisk, 12 weeks. Baby Moretti coming soon. Blue heart, asterisk. Posted 2 days ago. George was going to be a father. Or he thought he was. Stella stared at that ultrasound photo, her mind racing through the implications. If George's fertility issues were real and Dr. Chen had confirmed they were severe, then either this was a miracle. Or Vanessa's baby wasn't his. Did he know? Or was he being played the same way he'd played Stella? Either way, it changed everything. Stella opened her closet, pushed past the practical blazers and jeans to the back, where a single garment hung in a dry cleaning bag. The dress she'd bought on impulse 6 months ago. Crimson silk. The color of power. The color of blood. She'd told herself it was stupid, that she'd never have an occasion to wear it. Turned out she'd been wrong. Stella pulled out the RSVP card, grabbed a pen, and checked the box. __ yes, I will attend. Then she added one line at the bottom in her own handwriting. Asterisk, looking forward to seeing your real partnership. Asterisk. She sealed it before she could change her mind. The twins would stay with her neighbor, a retired teacher who didn't ask questions. Dr. Chen's affidavit would be ready in 4 days. And Stella had exactly 1 week to prepare for the moment that would either destroy George Moretti or destroy her. The Plaza Ballroom glittered like a crime scene, all gold and crystal and blood money dressed in Armani. George stood center stage, microphone in hand, Vanessa glowing beside him in champagne silk. 300 guests hung on his every word. Senators, mob bosses, socialites who pretended not to know where the money came from. To new beginnings, George raised his glass, hand resting on Vanessa's barely there baby bump. To finally having everything a man needs. Family. Legacy. A woman who understands what partnership actually means. The crowd laughed. They knew who he meant. His mother beamed from the front table. His consigliere smirked into his scotch. George was mid-sentence, something about defective prototypes and upgraded models, when the ballroom doors opened. The sound cut through the laughter like a gunshot. Every head turned. Stella stood in the doorway. That dress. God, that dress. Crimson silk that moved like liquid fire, cut low enough to make his mother clutch her pearls. Diamond earrings catching the chandelier light. Hair swept back in a style that screamed money and confidence. But it wasn't the dress that made the room go silent. It was the double stroller she was pushing. Stella's heels clicked against marble, sharp, deliberate, each step in execution. The crowd parted like she was radioactive. Women whispered behind manicured hands. Men's eyes went wide. George's face drained of color. She stopped 10 feet from the stage. Smiled. Not warm, surgical. Sorry I'm late, Stella said, voice carrying through the silent ballroom. Traffic was hell with the boys. She turned the stroller around. 2 identical toddlers stared out at the crowd. Dark hair. Olive skin. And those eyes, George's distinctive dark eyes that every Moretti carried like a genetic signature. Someone gasped. Then another. George's mother stood up so fast her chair fell backward. What the hell is this? George's voice came out strangled. The microphone amplified every crack. Stella tilted her head. This? This is your legacy, George. The one you said I couldn't give you. She adjusted Marco's blanket with deliberate calm. Meet your sons. Marco and Luca. 2 years old last month. The room exploded into whispers. Vanessa's face went white. George. She's lying. George stepped off the stage, hand shaking. This is some sick. DNA doesn't lie. Stella's voice cut like a blade. She pulled an envelope from her clutch, held it up. I have the tests right here. Plus medical records that prove something very interesting. George froze. Want to tell them? Stella's smile sharpened. Or should I? His consigliere moved toward her. Stella didn't flinch. The reason we couldn't conceive, she announced to the room, wasn't me. It was never me. She locked eyes with George. Your family doctor falsified my test results to hide the truth. That you, the great George Moretti, have oligospermia. Severely low sperm count. The whispers became roars. Natural conception is highly unlikely, Stella continued, pulling out a medical document. That's what the real test said. The ones your doctor buried. She looked at Vanessa's stomach. So either these boys are a miracle. She let the implication hang. Vanessa's hand flew to her bump. Her face crumbled. George, you said you told me. She's lying. George lunged forward. Am I? Stella didn't move. Then take a DNA test. Right now. Prove these aren't your children. George stopped cold. Because he couldn't. Everyone in that room could see it. Those boys had Moretti written in every feature. His mother was staring at the twins like she'd seen ghosts. You hid my sons from me. George's voice dropped to that dangerous register. Do you have any idea what I've done? Stella's composure cracked. You threw me out in the rain. Called me defective. Destroyed my reputation because you couldn't face your own inadequacy. Marco started to cry. The sound pierced through the ballroom. Stella bent down, lifted him from the stroller. The toddler buried his face in her neck, and the tenderness of it, the fierce protectiveness, made several women in the crowd look away. I didn't come here for custody, Stella said quietly. I came here so you could see what you threw away while you were too busy lying to yourself. She settled Marco on her hip. Luca reached for her from the stroller. George's mother moved forward, eyes locked on the twins. Those are Moretti boys. Her voice shook. Those are my grandsons. No. Stella's voice turned to ice. These are my sons. You don't get them. None of you do. She turned to leave. You're not taking them. George's voice rang out. Those boys are Moretti heirs. They belong with this family. Stella looked back over her shoulder. Try it. See what happens when the press finds out you divorced me for being barren, then I show up with your miracle twins. While your pregnant fiancé stands there wondering if her baby is actually yours. Vanessa let out a sob. George's face twisted with rage. This isn't over. No, Stella agreed. It's not. She pushed through the doors, twins in tow, leaving 300 people in chaos. But as the doors closed behind her, she didn't see George pull out his phone. Didn't see him dial a number with shaking hands. Didn't hear him say, find out where she's staying. I want those boys in my house by morning. I don't care what you have to do. In the ballroom, Vanessa collapsed into a chair, mascara streaming. And George's mother smiled, cold, calculating. Bring them home, she whispered to the consigliere. Whatever it takes. Those are Moretti children. They belong with us. Stay with me until the end, because this story will shock you to the core. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video. Hit subscribe and comment where you're watching from. Now! George's men found her hotel at 3 a.m. Stella was already gone. She'd checked out an hour after the gala, twins sleeping in car seats, bags already packed. The neighbor in Portland had the boys now off-grid, cash payment, no questions. George's call came at sunrise. We need to talk. His voice was controlled. Too controlled. About our sons. Your sons. Stella laughed without humor. Funny how they became ours the second you realized they existed. Stella. Be reasonable. Those boys need their father. Their family name. I can give them. What? A legacy built on lies. She was driving, hands steady on the wheel. I filed custody papers yesterday, George. Full legal custody. Medical records attached. Including the ones proving you falsified evidence to destroy me. Silence. You think a judge will side with you? George's voice turned venomous. Against me? In my city? I don't need your city. Stella smiled. I filed in Portland. My jurisdiction. And George? The press has the story. All of it. Vanessa's already calling tabloids about paternity questions. Your mother's threatening to contest your authority over family assets if you lied about fertility. She could hear him breathing, sharp, ragged. Your empire's eating itself, Stella continued. All because you couldn't admit you weren't perfect. I will destroy you. No. Her voice went cold. You'll try. And while you're fighting me, your fiancé's lawyer will be demanding paternity tests. Your board will be questioning your judgment. Your mother will be plotting succession. She hung up. 3 days later, the headlines broke. Asterisk, Mafia boss's secret twins expose fertility fraud. Asterisk. Vanessa left him. Paternity test pending. His mother called an emergency family meeting. Without him. And Stella? She stood in her new apartment, bigger place, better neighborhood, security system that could stop an army, watching her boys sleep. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. A photo loaded. George's mother. Sitting in what looked like a lawyer's office. Text below, asterisk, we need to talk about my grandsons. Without George. Name your price. Asterisk. Stella stared at the message. The Moretti matriarch wanted to cut George out. Take the twins. Rebuild the dynasty around them. Her finger hovered over delete. Then she saw it, a second message. Different number. A video file. She pressed play. Security footage. Dated yesterday. George's office. And George was on the phone, voice clear. Asterisk, I don't care if they're mine biologically. Those boys are Moretti property. Find her. Take them. If she fights, make her disappear. Permanently. Asterisk. The video stopped. New text. Asterisk. Thought you should know what you're dealing with. Run far. Run now. A friend. Asterisk. Stella's blood went cold. She looked at her sleeping sons. And realized this war had just begun.